You don't just get 80 million people to do that. You don't just get them to do that. The Germans and the Austrians, so on and so on. The Poles, Hungarians. You don't get them to just join suddenly. Hey, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to go try to exterminate all the Jewish people. Be like, are you serious? Are you serious? They're going to go along with it if they've already been programmed to hate. So we're looking at about 1,500, 1,600 years of hatred of Jews. The ones who killed the Messiah. When you hate, and this is only the final piece. You had 1,300 years of suffering and persecution and killing and one thing after another against Jewish people. This is just the very end. And when you've got people to the place where they hate so much, it doesn't take a lot to get them to walk through a door, to do that. It would seem like it would, but it doesn't. Conditioned by ideology, by thinking. And then we can say, so where was the U.S. in all this? Because surely we stepped in to stop this. No, actually, saving the Jewish people wasn't the primary reason we went into the war by any stretch. Not by any stretch. Because anti-Semitism on this side of the Atlantic was almost as strong as anti-Semitism on that side of the Atlantic. You didn't have to go very far to find it. And now all sorts of new materials are coming out about anti-Semitism here in the U.S. and how and why the U.S. responded in the war the way we did. It's really profound. The longest hatred, my friends. The longest hatred. On the part, dare I say once again, and by Christians. Not you. Oh no, not any of you. But the Christians that came before you. Not every one of them. But the Germans who did this, they didn't just suddenly, right now, Hitler's in power, we're going to kill all Jews. Okay, they're no longer Christians. Okay, Hitler's out of power. Okay, they're back. Okay, now they're Christians again. They're Christians. This is it. And when you hold on to a hatred like that, you can go very far. Jews can do it. Muslims can do it. Hindus can do it. Buddhists can do it. Everybody can do it. This just happened to be the one that Christians did. And never talk about. And never talk about and never take responsibility for. Never once in my childhood did I ever hear Nazis being referred to. In my adult life, I am the first person that I know of that ever referred to Nazis as Christians. I've never heard anybody refer to Nazis as Christians. First, and Nazis second. It's not Nazism that brings you there. It's the ideology of centuries of hate. So here, take a look. Here's one for the U.S., right? So this is the USS St. Louis, or the St. Louis, right? It was called the Voyage of the Dam, and it left Germany carrying 915 refugees, Jewish refugees, in 1939. First went to Cuba, then it went back to the U.S. The U.S. It wanted to land in Cuba, and the Cubans and the U.S., we were controlling Cuba then. We said, no, you're not going to land there. Then it looked for other islands, other places in the Caribbean. 915 refugees fled Germany. This is just one. I could give you dozens, probably hundreds of examples. I'm just giving you one because I had a picture of this. Those are all Jewish refugees fleeing Germany. And death. And so then they came up to Florida and up the eastern seaboard. The United States military, the Navy, fired a shot across the bow of this boat of refugees so that they would not dock. And across the United States, politicians and reverends and ministers and Christians and non-Christians alike saying, do not support the Jewish refugees. Don't let them dock. Why? Because they're Jews. They're Jews. It's not like they're not people. It's one after another. And so where'd they go? They went back to Europe. That boat with refugees went back to Europe. Could have landed in the United States. But the history of the anti-Semitism, the anti-Jewish sentiment is so strong here. Let me give you an example. Here's this guy, Coughlin. Anyone ever heard of this guy? He was one of the most important Christians in the 1930s and 1940s. Had a radio show. Radio was really, really big back then, like it is now. 30 million listeners he had at his peak. That's what he said about Jews. Catholic priest. 30 million listeners. The anti-Semitism is so strong. So strong. Even now, we go after the Holocaust. Even after Second Vatican Council. Second Vatican Council, if you know, it's in 1965. This is when the church really took the second important stab of changing its doctrinal teaching. Here are doctrinal teachings that were in place for centuries. All the Jews of Palestine circa 30 in the Common Era were responsible for the execution of Jesus. Core Catholic thinking. Every Jew is responsible for killing Jesus. All Jews who are currently living are also responsible for Jesus' death until 1965. So that means you and all the other Jews in the class before 1965, according to core doctrinal Catholic thinking, are responsible for the death of Christ. Every one. God rejected Jews because they murdered Jesus. God rejected Jews. So what do you think happens in the United States? When Hitler's killing Jews, the Holocaust is happening, and then there's a boat of refugees. They escape death, and they come to the United States. Well, God rejected them because they murdered Jesus. What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? It's their own fault. They murdered Jesus. This is core thinking. Now, you might think, if you're a Christian, you may think, yeah, but I don't think that, and people around me don't think that. Great. But in the 30s and early 40s, Charles Coughlin had 30 million radio listeners. This is core thinking. Took the Catholic Church till 1965 to abandon that thinking. Why do you think the Catholic Church made so many alliances with Hitler? Why do you think it was so easy for them to make their alliances? How do you think it was so easy for the Catholic Church to turn away, and other Protestant churches to turn away from what the Nazis were doing in the concentration camps? What do you think? You think they didn't know what was going on? Everybody knew what was going on. Everyone knew what was going on. That's the data that's out now. Everybody knew. Why do you think people didn't do anything? They turned away. Because everybody hated Jews. That's just core thinking. Of course I hate Jews. Think about how most Americans hate the Taliban, or they hate ISIS, or think about just that hatred that people, of course I hate ISIS. What do you want me to do? There's a boat full of ISIS refugees. They're the children of ISIS members. They didn't really do anything, but whatever. Whatever. Fucking hate them. It's really disturbing to have to look in a mirror and understand that this is the history of the longest hatred in the world. It's like, damn. Oh, but it's not here anymore, right? Okay, so it's gone.